I now want to talk about the concept of groups and group-based management. So the first thing I want to show you here is we have a couple of file servers, file server 1, file server 2, and we have a user account that's been replicated across the domain that I shown you earlier, this little smiley face guy. So let's say this little smiley face guy needs to access these folders here. Maybe this person's a salesperson or something like that, and they need to access these folders. Maybe they're sales related. So we want this user to be able to access these folders, but what if there were not just one user there? What if there was 100 users there and they all needed access to those folders? And then so that they first need to get access to the file server 1 folder, then they need to get access to file server 2. So the issue you run into there is, as I'm going to show you later with permissions, you're going to go to what is called an access control list on these folders, and you're going to try to assign permissions to it. But the problem is, if you got 100 users, you got to attach 100 users onto this folder and give it permissions, and 100 users onto that folder and give it permissions, and it gets repetitive and it takes longer and all of that. So the idea here is I can create this thing called a group. Okay, we'll create a little object, and we're going to put a G in it for group. You'll also learn there are different types of groups, but what we do is we take these 100 users, so let's say 100 users, let's say that little smiley face represents that, and we put those 100 users in the group. We then assign the group to the folder's permissions, and we can do that again and again and again. We can reuse that group as many times as we want. So this is going to give us a lot better performance, and it's going to give us a lot better management over groups. So this is the basic concept of groups. Now you can also do what's called nesting of groups, where you put groups inside of other groups and have a hierarchical system. We're not really going to get into that right now. I just wanted to throw out that you could. So now what I want to do is I want to look at a domain controller and how we would create a group in Active Directory and how we would add a user to a group. So to do that, I'm on my domain controller here. This is NYC-DC1. I'm going to go to Tools, Active Directory Users and Computers. Okay, now that Active Directory User Computers is open, if I wanted to create a group, I can right-click or click on the action menu on a OU, click New, click Group, and then I can name the group whatever I want. If I wanted to call it Sales, I could call it Sales. I'm not going to get into different group scopes and group types just yet. There's different reasons why we have these two things, but for security purposes, if I was going to give permissions to a group, I would be making a security group, so I would do that. And there's a group called Sales. So I wanted to add Jane Doe to that. I would just double click on it and then go to the members, click add, and then I could add Jane here. As you can see, Jane Doe is now a member. Now I could also double click on Jane Doe and then go to the member of tab, and I could add Jane Doe that way, or add the Jane Doe to the group that way as well. But as you can see, Jane Doe is already added. Okay, now if I want to do this on Windows 10, if I want to do a local group, I just got to go over to Windows 10, log on. Remember, I had logged on to John Smith earlier, so I'm just going to log on to the exam lab practice domain as the admin, administrator, or actually instructor. Put in password. Okay, so I'm logged on now to my Windows 10 computer. Now if I want to create groups through Windows 10 local, I can go back to that computer management tool that we saw earlier. So I'm just going to search computer down here, go to computer management, and then you're going to open up that same tool, local users and groups, that we looked at earlier in order to create our user account. So here it is, local users and groups. There's the groups folder. If I wanted to create a group there, just right click and click new group, or I could go to the action menu and click new group, and then just give the group a name. Maybe I want to call this, let's call it local guest users. All right, I could click add, and then I could add a user that I want to add, like John Smith, for example. Oh, if I'm actually searching locally, you actually have to choose locations and then choose a local user account that you want to add on the local machine. So I was tied to the domain. If I want to choose a local user, I can. And so then we put in the name John Smith, like so, and there you go. You can also, when you're doing that, you can click check names to verify the account exists. But if you type it correctly the first time, which I didn't, it will let you add that account. So as you can see, that John Smith account is now being added, and I'm creating the group. If I wanted to add other groups to that, other users to that, I could go into it and click add right here. All right, so now you'll notice that John Smith is officially been added to that group. I can also do the same thing as I did in the domain controller. I can open up the user, go to member of, and I could add groups this way. You already notice that John Smith is automatically a user as well. So that's how you can add groups both in Active Directory as well as on a local Windows 10 machine.